Everybody else's connection to why they're doing the journey or a part of the journey is different. My personal reason is to, in a proper way, following the salmon cycle, the wild salmon cycle, which is 4 years, that I collect the spirits and the histories of the families that I've lost down here, from my grandmothers to my aunties. So it's for all those connections of blood that had left Intlakatlan to Shuswap to survive in Vancouver or Coast Salish territories, that I'm bringing them home in a proper way with the environment, the natural cycle of the water and the salmon that connects us all. Our healing has everything to do with the protection and the caretaking of the lands at the same time.
So one side has sturgeons coming together with a wild rose in the middle, and that's to represent the sturgeons that live in these rivers that are just such beautiful, like, ancestors. We should treat them with as much respect as we can, be quiet on the water, treat them with respect, call them if you want to see them, don't go like digging for them, and protect their habitats. My grandma passed before I was born, but I keep hearing story after story of her being like, give my daughter this dress, she'll need it. And they didn't know if her baby was gonna be a boy or a girl, and like these things that, it's like ancestral connections. And they talk about the grandmothers and specifically like great-grandparents being closely related to great-grandkids or grandkids, and how it means like they're closest to the portal. And I've been thinking about this a lot with weaving as well, because they talk about like the veil thins at the loom. I read that somewhere and I thought that was so cool. And Nadine and I think about how we honor our grandmothers through history and through lots of things. And it's really, really amazing that I get to be a part of this and this group of artists that all are connected through our ancestral ties, but most importantly our ways we honor our grandmothers. So, yeah.
This is the part that I like the most. I don't know why. I think it's just I like really got my design game going with that. And then this is the other side.
We were talking about how we need to kind of shift the narrative for an exhibition like this that is so tender. Elders will say that they're putting teachings at your feet, and my big thing is, but you still need to pick them up and you still need to carry them. These spaces often want to put up a mural and say, oh, we've indigenized, but it's a continuous relationship. So an exhibition like this is a way to honor the continual relationship that we're having with these artists. So having this touring exhibition shows that we're all interconnected, and it's a way for these spaces to understand that in a more literal way.
It seems like within this society, everything has this little compartment of what it is, and then yet I look at who we are as Indigenous people. We were never in a compartment. The water can't be separated from the salmon can't be separated from the land, the people can't be separated from the water, like all of it, of how we function together. It was always stated that we're moving with the wild salmon. So when you're moving with the wild salmon, that means you start where the wild salmon is at and you're moving with them. It has to be with the elements chest. So the elements chest has to move with the wild salmon downstream, downriver. When I came in, they said, bury your eyes, it's a colonial museum, and we know that we need to work on our relationships. We know that we've impacted Indigenous people. And I hope that other museums throughout BC are going to start looking at what they have presented within their museum and how harmful that is to Indigenous peoples. Things started to move forward just the way they did, and I thought, you know, if I were to come in, they would actually have to be let through each tribe that they hit.
They would bang the drums, and somebody on the other end would either let them come in by banging drums back, or alert them of something, or just ignore them and make them turn around and go the other way.
When I was talking to Karen and Victor, I was telling I would love to have the movement of it being on the water.
This is our home range here, the Grandmother Mountain and her daughters. And from her flows the glacial waters. And these are the salmon finding their way home using the scent of her glacial waters. I originally thought it would be really great to decorate this box telling the story of our late 90s fisheries battles here in Chiam. And because there's a ton of stories to tell, and all of that resistance against the Department of Fisheries and Oceans was led by grandmothers. When I started to do that work, my box started to crack. And I decided to go in a whole other direction. My house got really cold and the whole top of the box cracked. And so I filled it in with wood filler, and then I layered on some acrylic medium and white paint and added this texture. And this texture to me represents the wool itself, a little bit of curl in the fleece kind of thing. And our origin story is very much connected to this mountain, Chiam, behind us, whose name is Shishike. And our origins is really connected to thunder and lightning. And so the cracking in the box was extremely loud in my house. And it gave me this emotional feeling of like lightning and thunder. And so I shifted my whole project to reflect our origin story. In a scientific sense, the glaciers themselves have a unique scent, and that scent calls the salmon home. And this Grandmother Mountain, she also protects the salmon and calls them home. So there's like what you might call an Indigenous science tie-in there. I immediately think of the changing climate situation, and it's always good to have a reference point. And what we call Shwohuyam are our reference points to a very distant past. And our Squelquel are more recent histories and tellings of how things are. And to pair them together and have an understanding of what the state of the world has been, where it is, and how to read the land and the water and our connections so that we can coexist here in this place is really, I think, the part of the responsibility of art.
And when I look at the women that I've asked to call here today to speak, I look at the energy that they have, or like the energy and the power of the grandmothers that stood here for years, that taught us the language, the lessons, the culture, the beauty, and the protection of the lands.
for all the children and the protection of the community. I see that in all of these women that I'm asking to speak today.
Our matriarchal matrilineal understanding is our matrilineal connections to land. So if you're looking at separating our people from a land basis, where do you start? You start at the roots. And I was able to find a ton of our ancestors up to what I call the white paper ceiling, which is contact, where our oral traditions are erased. But they don't even write down the names of our grandmothers many times in those census records. And I don't think that's just a mistake, like, oh, we forgot the old lady's name. There's a reason why there's silence there, is because that's where the power was.
People really just don't know anything about Indigenous people as far as like our history. I wasn't even taught anything in school myself. Like, it was literally nothing. Very, very cool to see that history coming to light. And in the future, hopefully more and more people will know about this.
This process that we're looking at is kind of like reorganizing our understanding of our history, our understanding of our trauma. It's sort of reorganizing these bundles so that when our young people inherit these bundles, it's not just a chaotic box of information and memories, but an organized bundle so that these young people can interpret that history and have a solid foundation for healing from that and an understanding.
What does it mean to be a good relative? To think about how we're all related, and to think about kinship and solidarity in ways that are about our principles and our values. And yes, our identities are important, but it's really important that we don't let those identities divide us, that we figure out a way to respect our differences and to bring them together in service of Indigenous law and Indigenous peoples as they reclaim their rightful place in these territories.
I think that honoring our grandmother's healing journey is an undertaking of love and carrying forth the work of making that love actionable, making it something that we are joined together in our relationships to each other, to our responsibilities for the land, for the future generations, for our ancestors, and of course between each other. Nadine has never once compromised Infkatmach principles in the way that whether we are in the Bill Reed Gallery or in like Oppenheimer Park on the downtown east side, that the same amount of dedication is shown, that the same amount of care to the people who are there, that people are fed, that she brings salmon, that she brings shwishim, that she brings foods from our territory, that she ensures that there are people from our territory who are there, that there are children there, that there are grandmothers there, that people are included and thought of and considered in a way that is so rare to see. And that is like particularly like my point of pride and inspiration, and getting to see just such actionable love.